one child in every classroom was homeless in London. How do we give them the values of aspiration if we can't give them a home?
Hi, I'm Laura Nielsen and welcome to Hope in the Deep End. We've put together this podcast to inspire us all to keep working in areas of deprivation and poverty. We're sharing best practice, stories, outcomes and some interesting thoughts and ideas. So whether you're working in primary care, secondary care, the charity sector or any of the other myriad of roles, please listen and help us to keep each other inspired.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Hope in the Deep End podcast. I'm joined here today with Darren Rodwell, the ex-leader of Barking and Dagenham Council and also the founder and director of Inclusive Growth Consultancy. So I'd really like to find out, we're so excited to be here and really like to find out a little bit more about sort of your journey into politics.
Well, firstly, thank you for inviting me to talk, and it's great to be at UK Reef. Which I was one of the people that helped this happen in the very early days of making sure that every region of the country had the ability to get investment in. Because what we're investing in is people, and it's really, really important. So my journey was really quite simple. I had a situation in the community where politics had been very polarising. So the BNP had turned up in Barking and Dagenham, the same as it had in places like Burnley and Stoke. And that was because the community felt totally disconnected, left behind from the deindustrialisation, the global politics of the world and business, because people want to feel like they belong. So as a community leader at the time, I then got involved in politics and I fought against the local leader of BNP, and I also campaigned, I was spearheading the campaign for the national election for Margaret Hodge and against Dick Griffin. So I was very much talking about what did we want to see as a community over the policies that had happened under the last previous Labour government and before that the Conservatives. So it wasn't so much the politics, it was about the values of the people and why they felt they needed to vote for an extreme, in my opinion. From that, I learned about how to develop the inclusive growth strategy, which I then put into practice in Barking and Dagenham, and we won many awards for it.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. And so that's a really good kind of outline of your journey into politics. So we're here today at UK Reef in sort of collaboration with the Creators Group to launch the 165,000 Reasons campaign. And yesterday we had a really good conversation about your work that you were doing in Barking and Dagenham to support families in temporary accommodation. Just wondered if there's any particular projects that you're really proud of in that space.
Okay, so I wasn't only the leader of Barking and Dagenham, I was also housing lead for London, and I had roles on the LGA, the Local Government Association. I was the person who coined the phrase, one child in every classroom was homeless in London. And I did that probably about 5 years ago. Today, unfortunately, it's nearly 2 children. And that's why this campaign is so important and so close to my heart, because I was talking about this for many, many years. And I'm really pleased that Creators has taken leadership here and said to all of the sector, we need to do something to stop this. I remember writing a piece around the whole Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist, and saying how London actually compares very similar today as it did then for those children. You know, where are their opportunities? You know, how do we give them the values of aspiration if we can't give them a home? So it's really, really, really important that we did. Now, at a local level in Barking and Dagenham, because of the projects we led and the way we did mitigation to the situation, we were able for 5 years in a row to reduce the amount of young people, families in temporary accommodation year on year for 5 years. I was also able to bring our waiting list down from about 13,500 on the list down to 4,300. And that was a mixture of building the right properties. It was about making sure people understood what was available to them. And to be honest, also making sure we had the right data. So when you mixed it all together, actually, we were able to really make a difference in the community. And there was many different schemes, whether they were the big house building schemes, whether it was the care leavers, who would technically find it quite difficult and then the homeless as well. And then we're talking about young people. So I used to give Christmas cards to young people because I was technically their dad. So I would write them a Christmas card and wish them well. We done things like they didn't have to pay council tax, because why should your son or daughter pay council tax? You know, there was all these mitigations to give them support so they didn't lose what had been given to them, because so many ended up in, again, temporary accommodation because they couldn't manage the situation. So there was a whole raft of incentives and different ways that we could really help mitigate the issue of homelessness, especially for young people.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of our audience actually will be sort of councillors and council leaders. And what advice would you give them to try and support families in temporary accommodation in their area?
So the biggest issue for any council pretty much in the UK today is their social care costs and their temporary accommodation costs. What they've got to do is think outside the box in the first instance. So I was able to change how we did things as an operation in the council in a very sort of, I call it a PLC, because it was very business orientated, but with social values. And funny enough, I've got a book that I'm talking about called Building Communities, and it has some of that in there. But really, what I would say to anyone is, you're not party first. If you're doing a leadership role in your community, you should be community first and party second. And not every party has every great idea. Not every person has every great idea. So it's about how you work collectively, you know, finding those good examples, looking at what you think can fix the problems in your community. Because everywhere has need, and there's the data, the cold data of need, as I call it, and then there's the warm data of aspiration. And what you want to do is bring the two together to then decide a master vision. Before you go anywhere near a master plan, you have a master vision of where you want people to go, that journey they want to go on. And if you can do that, then what you're then doing is saying that those communities matter, their values matter, and then you can take them along on the journey. I make it sound very easy. I wish it was that easy. But again, there's a lot of help, and with my consultancy now, I'm working with both public and private in getting them to understand the framing, what they need to do, and the outcomes that can be achieved.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. I think part of the sort of focus that we bring to this podcast is around staying hopeful when working in areas of deprivation. I wondered if you had any advice, again, maybe for councillors or for leaders, community leaders, around how you stay hopeful when there's so many challenges around you, and how do you kind of manifest that into really good kind of projects in practice?
Okay, so the best way of staying hopeful is looking at a smile on a child's face when something makes them happy. So if you talk about deprivation, Barking and Dagenham had the highest deprivation in the country, same as Blackpool at the time. We had the highest churn of community. We had the highest increase of young people. So nearly 1 in 3 were under the age of 24. So we had all those challenges. But what you have to do is say to people, look, today it's hard, but tomorrow it will be better. And if you do well at school, and we'll support you in this, it'll get even better. Yeah. So it's not about where your situation is today, it's about where you see yourself tomorrow. And any leader of everyone is a leader in their community. Everyone has a value in their community. So if what you can do is bring all that together, what you're then actually doing is saying everyone has an importance. And once people feel connected and feel important within their community, they aspire, right? And again, that's really, really important, because I always talk about not gentrification, because gentrification is when you're blocking people from being able to move forward. I talk about aspirational working class. And actually, everyone, even people that are on benefits that need support from the state continuously, are aspirational. And that is what every leader should remember, that they are the servant of that community, and you should give them the value that they need to be aspirational.
Absolutely. Well, that was really, really insightful. And thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.